Welcome to That 30s Show, a podcast where we talk about the good, the bad, and the surprising parts of our 30s. I'm G, and I'm finally 30. I'm excited to find out if 30 really is the new 20, because if it is, then the best years are yet to come.
And I'm David. I'm entering my mid-30s. I used to have no back pain or trouble sleeping, but now I live off a healthy diet of self-help books and dream of being in bed by 10 p.m. every night. Join us each week as we try to figure out together what life in your 30s is all about. Welcome back to That 30 Show.
How's it going, David? We haven't talked for a while, like Uncut.
Yeah, we haven't chatted and caught up, and
yeah.
You know,
it's fun. These are my favorites.
Here's an insider secret, though. It's not really a secret, but to manage our workload, a lot of our episodes are technically more or less uncut now.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because we're getting better at speaking and we don't, say all the ums and stuff, or it's just we don't really care anymore and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think it's just too much work. There were long stretches of silence at the end of one of our last episodes, and I'm like, oh, if I edited this, I would have cut it out.
Yeah.
But hopefully y'all are okay with it.
It's actually a lot harder to edit with video too. I don't know if you noticed that, but
oh yeah. Just the file size and everything, but
the file size and it doesn't flow. So yeah. Anyway,
but it's okay. We won't bore our audience with the technicalities
trade
of that.
secrets.
But we'll still call this the Uncut in the sense that it's a catch up on how are our 30 lives, our lives in our 30s. How are we doing? What have we? What are some highlights? What are some things that we've learned? Or I don't know. But also, as we mentioned previously, we want to spend a little bit of time just recapping some of the feedback and thoughts that some of our friends and listeners have shared with us. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
How's your morning so far, though?
It's really good. So I didn't go out last night. I read until 10, and then I went to sleep. I woke up really early this morning because I knew we were going to record. It's 10 right now. And so I was like, I need to go to a workout class that will end by 9. So I had to get up at 7:30, go to a workout class at 8, and then come back by 9 so I can get ready for this. Because my friends and I are in an Apple Watch competition, and we just all really want to beat each other with our activities. So it's actually a great motivator to get out and do stuff.
It is. I've heard of that from other friends who use Apple Watches, and it's oh, I wish it's like I want to be part of that, but I'm not.
You would really enjoy it because so personally for me, I love looking at all the stats. And I was saying yesterday, I didn't realize that on my health app, I have the VO2 max stat. It tracks my VO2 max. I'm at 40. I don't really know
what does that mean.
It says high, so I'm gonna take it.
Good. So you're gonna live forever.
I'm gonna take it as good. Yeah,
awesome.
But it has a whole bunch of stats on there that I like to track. So this morning, I am very refreshed and energized. It's always because I like going out. It's really fun. But then on days when I don't go out, the next morning is great. So it's I like both, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think what you're really good at is having that balance. You have both. What kind of workout class did you do this morning?
I went to F45. It's
ooh, that's what my sister's partner does.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah,
Gets you to that VO2 max.
I thought
level.
Is that something that you do just every now and then? Isn't it something that you sort of commit to on a regular basis?
No, so personally for me, I really like trying different workout classes. I get bored if I go to one thing all the time, so
okay.
I
so
just
they let you just drop in.
Yeah, I just go to different ones depending on how I'm feeling. The one I only went this morning because that was the earliest class I could find on a Sunday morning. 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Usually workout studios aren't open that early. So yeah, I am refreshed.
I will say I'm proud of myself because as I mentioned during the Health and Focus episode, my exercise is probably my weakest. I have better phases, but lately it hasn't been so good because life has been busy, although I know that's not an excuse. But yeah, this morning I went for a run for the first time in forever.
Ooh,
run. My goal was to I was like, okay, all that zone 2 VO2 max stuff I was talking about, let me actually follow my own advice. So the target, according to Peter Attia, right, is 3 hours of zone 2 training. And so I'm like, okay, that's if I go running twice a week, or if I bike to work once, and then plus my badminton night, that's about 3 hours of cardio. And so I went for a 45-minute. So my target, I did it differently this time. Instead of just be like, oh, let me run 5K or whatever. I was like, okay, let me do 45 minutes at zone 2. And so because I'm sort of not really in shape, I haven't really done it much. I was running really slowly. I could have run faster. I was like, oh, this is
Mhm.
really easy. But then I kept talking to myself, because the measure of zone 2 is, oh, you can hold a conversation, but like it's difficult. So
Oh
like I
yeah.
literally am running by myself, and I'm just like,
Internal monologue.
yeah, like no, I'm like saying random stuff out loud. I'm like, okay, so like if I'm having a conversation, can I have a have a conversation? Like I'm just like spewing nonsense just to test whether how I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I was like jogging so slowly, but I kept track of my heart rate. I calculated around 70% of my maximum heart rate is around 130. So to keep around 130 to 140, I had to run really slowly. I felt bad. Like these like grannies and stuff were like passing me. I'm like, I could run faster, but I'm trying to keep to my zone 2.
Yeah. You just
So
yeah, you just like to stick to it. Not want to go faster just cuz you want to stick to that zone 2 thing.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I guess the idea is that once I do more training, I will be able to run faster while keeping my heart rate lower,
Mhm.
right? This is my
Yeah.
first time in months that I'm really trying to get back into this.
Yeah.
So,
Good for you.
yeah. So it's
As I mentioned so many times before, running is the one physical activity that I do not enjoy at all. So, yeah.
yeah,
I
fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah.
All right. So, I know I think I've got a bit more feedback than you, but why don't we start with you said you have a couple updates or things that have been going on that are interesting to
Um
share. What's
yeah,
life?
I
How's
wanted
life been
to
treating you?
I had a story that I thought was kind of funny from like a month ago now, and I was waiting to bring it to this uncut, and then I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, now I don't know if it's funny, but I'm gonna tell it anyway, and maybe it'll, because it's about adulting and a bit of an adulting fail. So
I feel
one
like it's one of
morning,
those where I feel like it's one of those where it's like, oh, it's like I don't laugh, and then you're gonna be like, oh, you had to be there.
in the moment, it was very funny and dumb, but now if I repeat it, I
Okay,
don't know if it's gonna be funny.
I
So
promise I will laugh.
okay.
I'll try.
Okay, so basically one morning I woke up to this like chirping sound, and it was like just very annoying chirping sound. It was like derp, derp. So I went outside, and like my space isn't that big, right? So I was like, okay, the fire alarm or the fire detector probably needs like a battery change or whatever, cuz like I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but
Yep.
it's happened at my mom's house. So I was like, okay, the battery needs changing, whatever, but I had to run to work, so I just left it. And when I got back home, it was still chirping, and I didn't have a battery. So I was like, maybe I'll just um unhook the detector from the ceiling. And
Okay. This
but
reminds me of
my
your neighbor who played with his fire sprinkler and flooded the whole apartment building.
well,
But
that's what you do. Like when you want to change the battery, you have to take it
yeah,
off out of the
no,
ceiling,
you're right.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the one that I have is like hooked up to wires. I think there's different kinds. Like there's ones that you could actually remove and it's battery operated, but mine is like hardwired to
The
whatever's going
building.
on in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I removed the battery and I changed it, and it didn't work. It was still chirping. So I was like, oh my gosh, it must be like something more serious. Like I might have to change the entire detector or something like that. So it's like basically hanging from the ceiling at this point because it's hardwired. I changed the battery, it didn't work. So I was like, okay, what can I do? So I searched up on YouTube, and they're like, you can just remove the entire detector from the hardwire and then like change the entire detector. So I was like, okay, get out my
What?
voltage meter and like, turn the breaker off and make sure that the voltage is gone basically. And I like
Sounds very ambitious.
well, YouTube said it was okay. So anyway, I take it out of the ceiling. Like the entire detector is out of the ceiling at this point because I unhooked the hardwire. And it was still chirping. And so at this point, I'm like calling my mom, calling my friends. I'm like, has this ever happened to you guys? Like, how is the ceiling chirping with like nothing connected to it?
Oh, the ceiling's chirping, not the detached
Yeah, the
detector.
detached is not chirping, but the ceiling is still chirping. And I'm like, what is going I obviously can't
You
like go into the
there's an
ceiling.
there's probably like a pet parrot stuck up there or something.
So I'm like, hey, now what do I do? Because at this point, like the breaker is off, like the light, like everything should be turned off at this point. So I have no idea how it's chirping. And this is now I'm like Googling, YouTube, calling my friends and family. They're like trying to give me ideas. I'm like, I guess I just have to call like Strata or something in the morning, but it's so annoying. And then I had this random epiphany and I was like, So I go to one of my cabinets and I open the cabinet and it turns out it was my carbon monoxide detector that was chirping this whole time. It was like something in the
It wasn't
cabinet.
even coming from the
It
ceiling.
wasn't the ceiling.
Oh my gosh. What a red herring.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah. So,
Oh wait, that's concerning. What's going on there? Did you get
it was
poisoned?
just the battery was low. No, the battery was low on my carbon monoxide detector. So the
Oh.
whole time I could have just gone into my cabinet,
Yeah.
retrieved my carbon monoxide detector, and changed the batteries. So, anyways, I had to like hook all the wires back up and put the detector back in because it was not the
Well,
detector after all.
now in the future, if anything happens with your smoke alarm, you're now equipped with all this
Yep.
all this extraneous knowledge of how smoke detectors work.
Yeah. I know how to do everything now. But then I'm like, maybe I need to check my hearing because
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
swear
say.
it was coming from the ceiling. But it's one of those like cuz my space is small. It's like one of those chirps where like it kind
Yeah,
of echoes throughout the entire place and you don't
yeah.
really know where it's coming from and it did sound like it was coming from the ceiling. So, granted, I was like, "Oh man." But so, yeah. It was very funny in the moment because it was like, oh my gosh, it was not actually the detector.
Yeah, yeah.
Adulting things. But I really enjoy learning new things. So
No,
that was cool.
I applaud your like conviction to be like, I'm gonna figure this out, I'm gonna solve it, I'm gonna YouTube it. Lesser humans would have just called the strata, or I don't know, called a friend to come over and fix it for them or something
It's
like
all
that.
influenced by my mom.
Yeah,
My
it
mom
is.
is
You mentioned your mom is like is
fixer upper.
a fixer upper refuse. Does it come from a place of like a stereotypically Asian place where like I refuse to pay someone to do something I might be able to do myself, or is it come from
No,
a
not
I can
really.
do it, let me figure it out?
She just like wants to learn this new skill and she thinks it's like not worth it to pay someone to do it because most of the time you can actually fix it by yourself if you just Google it, like little household things. Obviously, if you need like a ton of equipment that you don't have, then she'll call. But she thinks that everyday little like electric or plumbing issues she can fix by
Mm-hmm.
herself. And she's right. Like a lot of the things you can
Wow.
just YouTube and fix. So um learn a new skill and yeah.
So you can now check off in your adulting checklist, correctly identify when my carbon monoxide detector is low on battery,
Yeah.
only after dismantling my entire ceiling.
Listen to your ears. Think of all the possible. Because it was just so dumb. Because I was like, there's no way the ceiling can still be making noise after I shut off the entire breaker switch, like
Yeah,
everything that has
yeah.
electricity. How is it still chirping? Oh, man. Funny stuff. So yeah, that's my fun adulting story of the week.
That's very adulting for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't have an adulting story, but that's
But how's
awesome.
life? It's been few weeks since we last had an uncut, I think. So
Yeah, I mean, I was brainstorming and I was like, oh, what do I share? I mean, I'm glad I went for a run, so at least I can tell folks you know, I'm trying to live, practice what I preach, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I don't have any update. I was like, gee, like, do you have things to talk about? Because I don't feel, for once, I'm at a loss for words. Everything that I would talk about is more just like personal stuff that I don't think is the right sort of place to share here. So life
Do
is
you?
just, it's just chugging along. I mean, in a way, that's sort of like very apropos. It's very, accurate to life. Sometimes
Yeah,
there's not much.
not much to update. Do you celebrate Thanksgiving?
Oh, that's a great point. I actually, I'm actually not really good with any holidays or festivities except Christmas.
Mm.
In that, like, everything else, unless someone else initiates, I either don't know about it or I don't care about it. Christmas is, for some reason, actually no, I mean, I have a long history of celebrating it through my childhood, and that's probably
Yeah.
why. But no, this year, I think I usually celebrate Thanksgiving with my relatives, who does the
The
difficult
bird.
task of baking the turkey and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this year, I think that they were recovering from some illness, so
Mm.
they didn't host. So no invite there, and therefore I didn't do anything. I was my girlfriend was like, it's Thanksgiving, we should celebrate, but we were really busy with some things. I was like, well,
Yeah.
we were buying groceries at Superstore, and then, like, similar to Costco, they have that, what, I don't know what you call it, the whole chicken that you can
The
buy.
rotisserie.
Yeah, the rotisserie. There we go. Yeah, the rotisserie chicken. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, we could buy a rotisserie chicken and just call it a day. It's
I
not a
think a
turkey,
lot of
but
people do that actually. Rotisserie
oh
chicken's
really?
great. So,
Maybe that's why there was, like, only, like, literally one left on the shelf.
yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people do actually do that. And then you don't have so much leftovers. I was eating turkey for like a week after.
Well, that's the
So,
thing too. Like, if it's just my partner and I, we're not gonna bake a whole freaking turkey.
yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on. And I
Totally
guess if
makes
you do,
sense.
you should invite people over. And I'm guessing that that's what you probably did. You had a whole. It's a Anyway.
Well, I always
That's a whole lot of nothing to basically segue into. Why don't you tell us about your favorite festival of the year and how it was?
Yeah, I always celebrate Thanksgiving with my family. One year I did it with friends because my family wasn't here. So
Okay.
sorry to the friends, but I always celebrate it with family. I don't even like to go away because Thanksgiving is a long weekend and a lot of people kind of go away for that. I don't even like to go away. I'd like to, because I cook for the family, I cook the entire meal.
Did
That's
you
like the
always do
only
that?
time. Yeah, ever since like high school, I want to say.
Okay. Because
So,
I was gonna say, like, I feel like that might be a transition for people in their 30s. Is that when you have
mm,
your own place, you go from being the kid who gets, goes back home for these Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners, to maybe being the one who gets to host.
yeah. Well, my
But
my
it
place
sounds like
isn't big
you're
enough,
thing.
so I definitely still go home to cook the meal.
Okay.
But
But I imagine if you
yeah.
had a bigger place, maybe you would be hosting your family,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think
because you're
so.
cooking. You're cooking
Definitely.
anyway. So why don't you just cook in your own kitchen?
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. So I actually stayed at my parents' place the night before so that I could wake up bright and early and get everything started. I love it. It's
Wow,
almost
it's commitment.
it is kind of like Christmas to me too. Like Christmas, it's kind of the same traditions. Like, you wake up and then you have like your Christmas breakfast and then you start trying to get everything together for dinner. It's pretty similar, but yeah, I made the bird. I and then cooked all
The bird.
the bird.
Where do you get the bird?
I think we got it from Superstore this year or Costco. I can't remember.
Is
But
there like the best place to get it if you're living in Vancouver?
I think
I
people
think.
mostly usually get it from Costco.
Oh, okay. I think
It's
my aunt gets
probably
it from Whole Foods.
Oh wow, that's a fancy bird.
It's fancy bird.
Organic, free range.
Yep. Bird lived life full of freedom.
Yeah. Yep. And
So how was the turkey? Was it good? You didn't burn it? It was well cooked through.
it's pretty good. It's like for turkeys, you have to start so early in the
I
day because it
know,
takes
it's
about four
crazy.
hours or something to get it together. And every year we end up eating really late because we can't time it properly. Like every
Yeah,
year, I think I'm starting really early, but then it just ends up like you just forget that it's like 4 hours. That's how long it takes. So,
yeah.
yeah, we got the bird in and then all the stuffing,
So
potatoes, and
so
all the
why is it
sides.
your favorite holiday?
It's my favorite holiday because I just love like the food, getting family together, and sometimes there's like Friendsgiving too, like friends, family, good food, the
But you
gratitude.
get
It's
that
just
you
like,
get that in Christmas too. Well, not the gratitude part, but getting that's
yeah.
why I like Christmas because it's always been associated with like quality family time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I
I mean,
wonder
I
like
do like
what's
Christmas too.
oh,
It's
okay.
like
It's probably the
the
gratitude thing
same.
because you're a gratitude girl.
I'm a gratitude girl. Yeah. I mean, you obviously don't need 1 day a year, like a day designated for it, but it's nice. Nice to
No,
be
I
able
just
to
think
do
that's
that
really
stuff.
special because I don't think Thanksgiving is many people's favorite holidays. So
And also, I think because this, like, Christmas is in the winter time, Thanksgiving's in the fall. So, with the
I
addition
see, I
of
see.
having, the fall
Yeah.
vibes,
So how
I just
many
love
pumpkin
it.
spice lattes have you drank so far this year?
I haven't kept count.
Give us your best estimate.
I don't know. I I don't buy like a lot of like pumpkin spice lattes when I go out. Like I don't buy coffee out, but I do have the pumpkin creamers that I got.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, which is funny because usually, like I mentioned on the another episode, I usually drink it black, but like in the fall, I do have my pumpkin spice
So
stuff.
when we have Thanksgiving with my relatives, there's always like the dark meat versus the white meat conversation, where we passing around the meat, and then it's like, all right, like who wants the dark meat? Does anyone
Yeah,
want the white meat?
the dark meat's usually the
Um,
favorite, right?
who likes the? Is it called? It's called white
Yeah, the
meat,
white
right?
meat
Yeah.
and the dark meat.
Who who
Yeah,
who likes the white
I
meat? It's
do.
just dry, and
I like it.
you like it because it's dry.
I don't like it because it's dry, but I like the white meat because you can just like lather all the gravy on it, and then it tastes
Yeah,
great.
that's true. Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. The
you
dark
can.
meat is too like fatty for me sometimes. I like
Uh,
the white meat. It
okay.
tastes better to
I have
me.
to say
So
I'm a dark meat kind of guy.
yeah,
What's your
you.
favorite topping? Do the gravy or the
I love
cranberry
cranberry
sauce?
sauce. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I love cranberry sauce. Gravy. You have to have a ton of gravy. We always run out of gravy at some point because
and you make your own gravy
everyone
from
just.
scratch, kind of thing.
I used to, but in the past few years, I've gotten lazy. So I've been doing the package. I used to
Aren't
make
you
my own
excited?
cranberry sauce too.
Oh wow, that's damn. This your it's the full 9 yards for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was
Um,
a great weekend. It was really nice too. Like the weather. I think someone I know went camping during that weekend. It was actually like 25 degrees or something like that. So
I think something that's really exciting in your 30s is that if you have the opportunity, and you have the desire to have kids and have your own family, is to pass on these traditions.
mm-hmm.
Can you imagine like the first Thanksgiving you'll have in the future with like with your own family, with your own kids?
Yeah.
That's gonna be so special.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, I only started this because my family like never really had these traditions, even for Christmas and stuff. Like we'll give each other presents
Oh, so you
and
started
things like that.
this tradition, not even your
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah, no. I
That's
started because they don't
that's
know what
rare.
like Thanksgiving is. They're like, what is like turkey? We don't even usually eat turkey. Like, what is this
Yeah,
stuffing thing with bread and like cranberry sauce? What?
yeah.
So
This is very not Asian.
not Asian at all, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I started the tradition. So that's why I have to do it every year because I don't, no one's gonna do it. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
essentially my tradition. So
So, last thing about Thanksgiving, I guess, speaking of giving thanks and being grateful, just putting on a spot here, but like, is there one key thing that you're grateful for? Is it the big picture wise?
I mean, I'm if I said like what I want to say, it's all like cliche stuff. Can I tell you one little thing that I was grateful for this morning? Actually,
Sure.
it kind of made my day. Okay, so I was doing laundry, and I really
That's
needed
great.
to get this load of laundry in, like because I'm leaving next week, and I ran out of laundry detergent. So it's like, oh, I need to do this because if I go after our recording, I won't have enough time. Blah 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 blah.
Did
And
you
then
ask a neighbor?
no. I remembered that I had like one sample pack of detergent that I got from like Costco or something like that. And it literally made my day because now I could do this load of laundry and everything will fall into place.
I feel what's more impressive is that not only that you remembered that, but that you're able to locate it. Like these miscellaneous things, it's like, where did I put it? How do you
Oh,
manage
I
to know
have
where
like
it
a
is?
little thing of samples that I keep
Oh, you have a
just in
box of
case
samples.
for these moments, but I have not used it yet. And so I even have a dishwasher pod there too. So in case I ever run out there, I can use it. Anyways, that made me ecstatic this morning because otherwise
Okay,
I would have had no time. So,
it's very G anecdote. I'm just sitting here and be like, that's cool. Like,
but
it's great.
you know that you get that feeling when you're like something falls into place when you are desperate for something. It's kind of like that
Yeah,
vibe. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Um,
Anyways, I'm also grateful for friends, family, and all that stuff.
all the boring stuff. Yeah. What am I grateful for? Or what am I giving thanks to? Honestly, it's just health. Like as long as I can be
Yeah.
healthy,
Yeah.
especially at this age, um, I think if I can walk, if I can talk, if I can see and feel, and not have any chronic pain or chronic disease,
Hmm.
life's not too bad. So
I always think about that when I'm like exercising. I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful I'm able to move my body. Like,
like that, and not I don't, and that's really like yeah, I do that too. But I don't know how many people do that. And I think that's a very like easy, but like easy win to think like that. It's kind of like when I told you about the badminton story, right? When I just
hmm,
reframed being like, oh wow, I get to go to play badminton no matter how tired I am. I
yeah.
get to do this.
I think it's also
There's many.
ingrained. Like, a lot of the fitness instructors say that too. Like, you get to be here
Yeah, but can you
when
imagine all the
others don't.
people who are like, maybe they're handicapped or something, and they're like,
Hmm.
I wish I could run,
Hmm.
like I wish I could go exercise, but I have to do alternatives or something like that. So
It's just
yeah,
like
I didn't.
whenever you're sick, like all you want to do is get better again. And you're just like,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah,
wish I was healthy. And
yeah.
so when you're healthy, you should be grateful for it.
I didn't always wish for this, to be honest. I think it's only in recent years when like my birthday wish or my New Year's resolutions or whatever has centered around health.
Mm,
It wasn't always like this.
it's probably a result of getting older.
Aging, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what else is up with you?
Hmm.
Anything else you had lined up to share? Any stories?
Not
Any
really. I'm
lessons? Any
traveling in the
habits?
next week or so. So I'll be MIA for a bit. But
Where are you going?
yeah, I'm going to Ontario for my
Mm-hmm.
friend's wedding and then also to see my dad. So
Nice.
I am really excited because fall in Ontario is beautiful. I don't know if you've
Oh,
ever
really?
seen pictures, but
I have
like
seen pictures actually.
the East
Yeah.
Coast is different. It is
Oh, okay.
superior to in terms of fall, like the leaves and the trees, because it's like fields and fields of trees versus here you get like a few, sporadic
Wow.
maple leaf
Well,
trees. So
you gotta
I'm
take some
so
photos and
excited.
maybe share it in a story on our IG.
Yeah, yeah. No, it'll be fun.
I have a random tangent that just came to mind because you brought this up, but
Hmm.
I feel like whenever you catch up with folks, friends, whatever, almost the first question that people seem to ask, and maybe that's just my experience, but one of the most common questions anyway is like, oh, so what's new? Like, and what's are you going anywhere soon? Like, any vacation plans coming up?
Hmm.
And this is just me thinking too deeply about things again. Oh, I remember this. Isn't this one of the things that you asked me in that little
Yeah.
game we
What
played? Like,
vacation?
isn't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah? And then like, how do I interpret it? Because
Hmm.
I caught up with some people that I haven't seen for many months recently, and they're like, oh yeah, are you traveling anywhere? I'm like, no. And I guess that's a simple question to you, but yeah, to me, it makes me think again. It's like, oh, why is this the question that like it seems like life people just live, or maybe it's just the easy icebreaker. I feel like life can be satisfying and have things to look forward to even without traveling. Like this idea of like traveling the world is, I don't know. I think it's not like a universal thing.
I think it's just the icebreaker. I often find it hard to think of what to say when friends, like even friends that I haven't caught up with in months, when they're like, oh, how's life? Like, what have you been up to?
Yeah.
But it's
So I
like the
guess it's like you
same
don't know what to
things that
ask other
I've been
than
up
just like,
to.
are you traveling anywhere?
Yeah, and the first thing I actually think of is like, am I going anywhere soon? Like, can I talk about that? Am I,
Yeah, yeah.
what am I doing in the next? Because otherwise, life is kind of there's a lot of
I
good
feel like
moments, but it
I feel like we should
yeah.
challenge ourselves to ask different questions. Like let's ask like questions like what are
Have
the
you taken
latest
up any new
habits that
hobbies? Yeah.
yeah, or like what are some of the latest habits you've incorporated into your lifestyle? Or like
I feel like you just stress the other person out when they're like, "Oh my god, I don't
or
have a
I'll be
new
like,
habit."
how's your sleep these days?
Yeah.
When I go to your Halloween party, when I'm like mingling with your friends or catching up with people, I'll make it a point to be like, no, instead of being like, oh, like any vacations coming, I'll be like, how's your sleep been? And it's
Yeah,
like, who invited this guy?
I know you don't particularly love big social situations, but a lot of my friends have been asking if you'll be at the
They're gonna be
party.
so underwhelmed, honestly.
No, I don't
They're
think
like,
so. They're really looking forward to it because they feel like even my family, they're like, oh, I feel like I know David, even though I've never met. Like my brother's girlfriend said that, so
yeah, yeah.
it,
That's how I feel
yeah,
like there's these podcasts of people that I've been listening to for over a decade. And I'm
yeah.
like,
You like
I
know
know
them,
them. I know them. I know their likes, their dislikes. I know their quirks. Like I've heard
yeah,
1,000 stories from their lives.
yeah,
There's a name
exactly.
for this, and whether it relates to us is it's a bit of a stretch, but it's called like parasocial relationships. Have you heard of it?
No,
I think it's parasocial. Yeah, it's like it's a
like
very new
someone
thing
through
because there's a lot
their
of like whether you, like it's like you feeling like you have a friendship or relationship with someone that doesn't actually know who you are. Parasocial relationships are one-sided relationships where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time, and the other party is completely unaware of the other person's existence.
yeah, kind of makes
So
this
it's kind of like you and Taylor Swift. Like Taylor Swift doesn't know you exist, but you
yeah,
kind of love her. That's a
yeah,
parasocial relationship.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think about Taylor Swift way too much.
All right. Do you want to let's share a bit about some of the thoughts and comments that our listeners and friends have shared because I think it's quite interesting. Like we have these conversations, and certainly they're just two very narrow perspectives because it's just coming
Hmm.
from two people, and I think a lot of times I say things that are probably questionable and objectionable, and people might find objectionable. But so here's a chance for us to share a few additional perspectives on some of the recent conversations we've had. I think I
Yeah,
have a few more than you because I have a couple specific friends that are very vocal, which I love.
yeah.
But I don't know if
Yeah,
you
if you
want
have
to
any
get us.
concrete exact I okay, I'll just start off by saying something kind of funny because I got a lot of comments on this one, but with
Okay.
Michael's episode,
Oh yeah.
everyone was just commenting on how in awe you two were of each other. It was like an immediate like
Oh my god.
bromance that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
blossomed, and it was just
No, I'm not
like
gonna lie. I
wow,
love that guy.
David's like raving over Michael, and then they're like, yeah, Michael's doing the same thing to David, and then they're like, we forgot about you, G, you're just third wheeling at this point in their conversation. I'm
I
actually really glad I was not on video for that one, because to watch you two like gawk over each other, it was great.
wait. Is Michael? Sorry. I don't mean to be awkward because everyone has their social circles. But is he going to be at the Halloween thing?
No, he's not,
Okay. Okay, that's
unfortunately.
fine.
But
But no, I laugh because you and your friends are on point. I'm not gonna lie, I love that guy. I have a huge. I was telling my friend who was talking to me about the episode too. I was like, oh,
yeah,
Michael seems cool. I'm like, yo, I could you tell I have an immediate huge man crush on that dude.
yeah. No, everyone could pick it up. It was very obvious.
Yeah,
uh,
it's so funny.
it was great too, though, because he's like all complimenting you on the way that you frame things, and it was
Yeah, I
it's
don't
just so cute.
know.
uh,
Okay, but do you have any concrete feedback from
you
our
go
listeners
first.
or
You go
friends?
first. That was my fun
Oh,
feedback
sure,
for the day.
friend. So A while ago, I think I talked about, or we've talked about this multiple times. So I actually can't pinpoint exactly when this first came up, but we've talked about how we get distracted by our phones, and I was using the 1 sec app to delay my ability to open an app. Right, it's got that 20-second delay. Remember
Mm-hmm.
that?
Mm-hmm.
So one of my friends was telling me that actually this friend is really, really rare and unique in many different ways, but in a specific way, in that I think she does something that I'm gonna bet that you don't know anyone who's like this. Do you know anyone who does not have a data plan?
Whoa. No, like my mom. I think she has a data plan now. I don't know anyone without a data plan.
So this person doesn't have a data. This friend does not have a data plan. The primary reason I think is to save money, but also because of the proliferation of Wi-Fi and hotspots, and like Shaw hotspots, Rogers, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And at your workplace you have Wi-Fi, at home you have Wi-Fi. They don't have data, and she commented in response to my episode about phone distractions, like, another added benefit. Not only do I save like $60-$70 a month, I also don't get distracted, because she'll be like, oh, I often find myself wanting to check social media or check something when I'm out, but
Mm-hmm.
I literally can't because I don't have data.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of pros and cons there, obviously, from someone who probably has considered that, but never, like, I need a data plan.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
yeah,
honestly didn't even know that phone carriers still have plans that don't have data.
yeah, I think she pays probably like
I
five or
just
ten
talk and
bucks a month
text.
for her phone plan. Yeah, and
Wow.
if you think about it, like, how much is your phone plan?
Mine's pretty
Because
cheap actually. It's about 30
yeah,
bucks. It's not bad.
what?
Is that bad?
How much data do you have? No, that's crazy cheap. How much data do you have?
Oh, I think I have like 12 gig.
Yo, did you like charm
I
up
have like a
the customer
grand
service
I have like a
guy? Like,
grandfathered plan. This is why I can never leave my phone carrier because
that's crazy. 30.
I do.
Okay, for anyone
Yeah.
who's not from Canada who's listening, Canadian data plans are insane. It's among the most unaffordable, like, or the least efficient in the world. Because if you go to Asia, you can get like fucking, like, I don't know, like 1,000 gigs for like
Yeah, but it's getting
no money.
cheaper, isn't it? Over the years,
Oh,
I
is
feel
it?
like it
Okay.
it like you get
I
more
still
gigs for less.
Yes, but I still think $30 a month for a data plan. I don't know. Again, maybe we'll get feedback. People will like hit you up, be like, "Yo, G, what's up with your friend? Like, what's he paying for? I'm only paying $20."
What are you paying?
I'm paying 60.
For how many?
I think I get 20 or 25 gigs.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think I have a pretty good plan, but it's not $30. My gosh. Anyway,
Mhm.
so yeah, my friend was just saying, like, if you don't have a data plan, then you have even less distractions. You can't do crap on your
That is
phone.
very
I'm
true.
like,
That is not where I thought you were going with this. I thought you were going to say she doesn't have social media or something. That's
no.
that's more common than not having a data plan. So I
What do
mean,
you think?
that's
What do you think is the biggest uh, obstacle in your life that would come up in your life if you did not have a data plan? Like, what's the biggest reason you can't go without a data plan?
oh, probably like maps. Well, I guess I could download an offline map, but
It won't have traffic data, but like, is that a big deal?
yeah, yeah. Biggest obstacle. Yeah, I mean, if I can still text and call if I'm out and about, probably not much. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe like, if we in the future we want to do like a fundraiser or something, we could do like a monthly no data challenge for
Wow,
for
airplane mode for a month.
yeah. No, just turn off cellular data for a month, try and raise some
Wow.
money, and
Well,
report back on the results.
that's a good experiment because we could see what kind of apps we need in our daily lives that will, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
be hindered if we don't have
Um,
it.
I Another feedback that I got that was pretty interesting was um, the climate change episode. So I was bashing on China and India and all these developing countries for their emissions, and then a friend just pointed out that a large part of the reason that they have especially China has a lot of emissions, is because they have a lot of manufacturing, right? They do a lot of like, everything is made in China. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
not exaggerating, but not too far off from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's made in China. But then who buys these things made in China? It's not just Chinese people, it's the entire world. It's
Mm-hmm.
the consumerist driven Western society. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know to what extent this is accurate in the data, but my friend was just saying like, well, a big part of why like countries like China emit so much is because there's such a huge demand for the things that they make, which produces CO2. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess ultimately my friend was just making the argument that if we want to help climate change, we can, and we feel that we don't have any control over what China does. Well, in a way, you could on a micro, very micro level, is you could
Mm-hmm.
stop buying so much crap.
Yeah.
um, whether or not that actually makes a difference, I don't know. But it's an interesting angle to know that hey, it's not China's not just emitting all this stuff because they're irresponsible. They're making this stuff because there's a demand
Supply
for
and
it.
demand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I think one of the tangible things that people often say, that you can, like things that you can do to help combat, well, not combat climate change, but individual things that you can do is just, yeah, less consuming of goods. Um,
Hmm.
Especially things like fast fashion, cheap stuff that you can get, like get the good quality stuff, but get less of it.
Yeah.
That's what my mom always tells me too. She's
Yeah.
like,
That's what
"Why
my
are
mom
you
says too.
buying like 20 different crappy clothing pieces? Just spend spend more money on one thing and then you can wear it a lot
Yeah.
more." So,
Do you have any thoughts, or should I keep going?
no, I think that's a good point. I don't
No, I
have
mean, like, do you have
much
any
more thoughts.
other thoughts from to add about like
Oh,
listener
you
feedback, or
you
should
can
I keep
keep
going?
you can keep going.
Okay. So another, actually, that's not a feedback. It's more of a suggestion, and also actually a bit of a teaser or primer. We've gotten multiple suggestions from listeners and friends to be like, "Hey, that 30 show, you guys should stop getting people who just turned 30, and actually like
Good
interview
point.
people who are in their 40s who can
Yeah.
give advice on, you know, how what they wish they had known, what they wish had been done
Yeah,
differently."
I would
So
love that.
we hear you. The challenge in that is that G and I actually don't have a lot of old friends.
Old, older,
older,
older.
older. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking too. Like, I don't actually have a lot of relatives, but do you have relatives that
No,
could go on the show?
no.
No.
I only have a 20-year-old that I can interview. A 25, the younger ones.
It's too bad
No one older. Yeah,
your
she
mom
would
couldn't
she
come
would
on.
not know how
Yeah,
to speak on this podcast, but it would be
yeah.
funny.
But on that note, I have through my networks found this is so funny. I have found a someone in their 40s who is willing to come on. So we're
It's
gonna
like
have
a gem.
yeah, yeah. I have found this rare Pokemon,
Yeah.
and yeah, we'll have them on in early November. So you can look forward to that. Someone in the 40s is gonna give us. They are. Actually don't know how old he is, but he is married. I think has just had a second newborn. So
Cool.
someone have with a bit more life experience can
Yeah.
tell us a bit about what we should be doing. I'm excited for
What we
that.
can
So thanks for
expect
your
in the next few
suggestions.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to sort of the content feedback. This has just happened on the last episode. So remember last episode where I was talking about how to train VO2 max, and I was like, you gotta run really, really hard for 4 minutes, and then do something light for 4 minutes, and then repeat that for 4 to 6 times. Remember
Yeah.
that training
Yeah.
regimen?
Yeah.
So my friend who does running a lot, he's like, I lolled so hard when you said that, because do you realize how hard it is to run super fast for 4 minutes and do that 6 times? I can barely do it for 3 intervals. And I thought about it. I was like, well, actually, that's right. Because if I run really hard for 4 minutes times six, that's 24 minutes. And I certainly don't run hard when I run a 5K, which is around 30 minutes. So basically, I'm asking myself to sprint a 5K. Yeah, okay, never mind. This is not really realistic.
Yeah, I when I was listening back to that episode, I was thinking the same thing, because usually if you're sprinting, it's like hit workout and you're only supposed to sprint for like 20 to 40 seconds. So if you
Yeah,
want to do
yeah,
that
yeah.
for
So if
four
you want to
minutes
sprint for
straight,
4 minutes and then do that 6 more times.
yeah. Yeah, no, that
So I
didn't
have
work
not
out.
tried this VO2 max exercise yet. I'm hoping to do it this week actually, so I can report back on a future uncut. But yeah, I just want to acknowledge that 4 times 6 interval training thing is it's pretty hard.
My friends commented on that episode. We're like, we realize that we're not built for longevity.
We're gonna die young. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot to it. So yeah, I I was definitely surprised. I actually do want to read that book now. It sounds really interesting. So
I was at chapters yesterday, and it's like freaking everywhere. It's like outlive,
oh
outlive, outlive,
really?
outlive, outlive. It's like entire bookshelf. I mean, it's a new book, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's very sciencey. It's not for everyone, but it is like very legitimate, I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so I have one last longer point. A friend had a lot to say in regards to Michael's episode about passion and purpose. Should I dive into that a little bit now?
Sure.
So for those folks who might not have listened or remember, not only did Michael and I fawn over each other, we did have substantive conversations about purpose and passion and work and all that. But yeah, we talked about work-life balance a lot, right? And I think one of the things that we concluded was like, well, people need work-life balance because they don't love their job, because they need, or I mean, I'm maybe oversimplifying, but that's sort of a bit of a conclusion we came to. Would you say
Hmm.
that's accurate?
Yeah, like
I
there's a
think it's something that you
divide
said. Yeah.
between the work and the
Well, I guess
life
what
part.
my friend said to that was that no matter what job you have, no matter how much you love it, she was saying that you still need work-life balance because you can't exclude self-care. You can't. You need a good diet. You need exercise. You need sleep. You need social connections, and you can burn out even if you love your job because how sustainable is it in the long term if you're like going 100 hours, even if you love it? Um, and for my friend, she loves her job, but she says that she still finds there's a lot of tough days. Like she genuinely loves it; it's very fulfilling.
Hmm.
But she's like, there's still a lot of tough days, and in those days, she has to remind herself that no matter how much she loves her job, like life isn't supposed to be easy, right? And
Hmm.
just because she finds it tough doesn't mean that it's not the right job for her.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just yeah, it's just a perspective that I think is very valid. And she was curious, like, oh yeah, Michael's approach and mindset is like this right now, but like curious like how he would feel 5-10 years down the road,
Hmm.
whether it's
Yeah, because
sustainable.
Michael is kind of almost like basically starting his career
Yeah, you're
still.
just at the starting line, right? So maybe you have
Yeah.
all that energy. And I remember when I worked at Science World before as an intern, and that's an interactive science museum we have in town. And I
Hmm.
love Science World. I'm a total nerd. I grew up going to Science World every year. I had an annual membership. So when I worked there, I was like, oh my gosh, I used to pay, or at least my mom did, or I did a few times when I was older. I used to pay to get into this museum. Now I'm like here every day for free. So I
Yeah.
used to spend my lunch times like walking around engaging with the museum because I'm like, it's all here, But yeah, that lasted 1 week, and then I stopped doing that. My point is
Yeah.
like, when things are fresh, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of interest. But even though I love Science Row, like I didn't spend my lunch times walking around for fun after the first couple of weeks because it was just not that sustainable. I needed that downtime away from the job
Yeah.
that I love.
It was so funny because so I had a coworker who listened to the episode, and her spouse is also in the medical field, like also some kind of surgeon, and she just thought it was hilarious, like how much you fawned over Michael because to her it's like, okay, they're like in residency, like it's not that big of a deal. They're just doing their job, like they're still very fresh. They're still very new at their job. So
Well,
she
no,
was
hang on.
just
I didn't fawn over Michael because of he's a surgeon, or I didn't fawn over his surgeon work though.
yeah. But she just thought it was quite funny because
Fair enough. Oh,
uh
that's so
yeah,
funny.
that episode brought a lot of laughs actually.
Oh yeah, yeah, I like that. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I liked it. Okay. um, and then I had actually, this is a different friend now responding to Michael's episode. Um, he had a bit more of a contrary opinion, which is actually quite relevant to if I have any personal update, it's something relevant to this. My friend was like saying like he doesn't actually think that it's necessarily that important to find some great purpose in life. And the way he put it is that he's like, oh, we can just be happy being a quote unquote minor character NPC. I don't know if you know that reference as a gaming term, but NPC is a non-playable character. So it's basically saying like it's fine just being a background character. You don't have to be a main. You don't have to be the protagonist in your life, or you don't have to be someone that moves the needle in the world. You can just being a regular Joe. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to have some great purpose. You can. And then he was saying how like a lot of that might there's a huge part that is a societal sort of input, maybe like some sort of societal influence to be productive,
Mm-hmm.
to find meaning in being productive, find meaning in making money and contributing something to society. I think with most things there's probably a balance, but um, I think yeah, he was just like I think it's possible to be happy living just your own unique, authentic life without all the pain and the purpose and the goals. And he's like, if you just downshift all your goals and expectations significantly, you'll be happy. What do you think about that?
It reminds me of a podcast that I listened to about the host is an entrepreneur, and he's really intense. Like he's all about the like no days off, like hard work. He's always talking
Mm-hmm,
about,
mm-hmm.
how he gets to that level of success
Yeah.
because he's working so hard. But then he always prefaces by saying like this is not for everyone. Like not everyone is going to have like the grit to be able to work this hard and stuff, and that's okay. Like if the 9 to 5 or whatever is right for you, like you stick to that. So I think people put these people on a pedestal sometimes, and sometimes that just isn't what your life is like or what you want out of life. So because this person would just have no downtime really, but he
Mm-hmm,
enjoys it so much that he is
mm-hmm.
willing to work like 24/7 to reach the next level, like level up. So
Something that I didn't really fully agree with my friend's feedback here is he also said that because I was like, okay, well, what about like contributing to society? Yeah, maybe you don't need to have some like grand purpose or meaning and whatever to find meaning, but I was like, well, I don't think you can have a meaningful life if you're not being like in some like let's say you could be a common example is being the the what do you call the garbage man, driving the garbage truck. That's an essential service that society needs.
mhm.
It's not the most glamorous. It's not the most looked favorably, but it's an honorable job. You do it
Mhm.
honestly, honorably. It's you're contributing to society. It's valuable. Like so, what if you're like literally not contributing to society in any way? I don't know if he's just being contrarian because he's a very contrarian guy, but he's like, oh, it's nice to contribute to society, but it's not necessary. There's no moral imperative to have to live a life where you contribute to society. I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I feel like contribution is more fulfilling than having just making a lot of money. This guy that I'm talking about, he often talks about like comparing, someone who's in the trades, like a plumber, an electrician, to someone who is perhaps like an influencer who, I mean, not I'm not trying to bash influencers, but like, someone who's making a lot of money off like a sponsorship or just
Mm-hmm.
something that's not, I don't know,
Yeah,
contributing in the same way that a plumber would, I guess.
yeah,
And this person always favors like being able to contribute somehow,
yeah,
knowing a skill and
yeah.
delivering that skill to contribute to society versus the making a ton of money off of, I don't know, something smaller. So
So is what you're saying is that you do agree that contributing to society is sort of a necessary ingredient to a fulfilling life?
I personally think so. I feel more fulfilled if that's what I'm doing. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
anecdotally
Yeah,
for
yeah. I mean,
me.
there's no necessary right or wrong because I think ultimately I just finished reading "Man's Search for Meaning" by Viktor Frankl, and one of his key
Ooh.
messages is that meaning there's no objective universal meaning. Meaning is unique and individual to each person. You find your own unique meaning, and I think that if you find meaning only when you contribute to society, then that's meaning. If you find meaning without contributing to society, that's great. I think that's fine. But I think I would argue that many people can't find meaning without contributing to society.
Yeah.
Um, Does a
Yeah, I feel
useful
more
like
fulfilled by like improving, either improving myself or improving something about society that's
yeah.
fulfilling.
One of the pieces of advice that I think I hear a lot, and you probably hear it, which is very succinct and it's very simple, but it's basically don't focus on. I don't remember what it says. Don't focus on, but basically it's like instead of focusing on all these other things, just focus on trying to be useful. Like be useful, be helpful. Um, Arnold
Hmm.
Schwarzenegger has a new book that just came out, which is 7 tips to becoming useful. I listened to a podcast where Tim Ferriss interviewed him recently, and it's quite a good podcast. I would recommend it if you search Tim Ferriss as one of the recent episodes. But yeah, I think he's similar to the entrepreneur person that you mentioned. He's like really hardcore, you know. Um, but in the end, I think whether you have to work 100 hours weeks or not, in the end, I think if you can be useful, I think that's like we all feel better at the end of the day when we feel like we've like helped someone or made
Hmm.
someone's day better, right?
Yeah, yeah. I Your friend does make a good point though, because I feel like sometimes a lot of what's put out in society now is so polarizing or extreme. So you have the one end where you're like the David Goggins kind of mentality, like work 24/7, blah blah blah, and then you have the other
Mm-hmm.
end, which I just talked about with friends, the soft quitting or
Mm-hmm.
the
Quiet quitting.
like, yeah, or making sure that you have that work life balance, but it's on the other end of the extreme. And I am always
Mm.
someone who kind of dances around in the middle
Balance.
of everything. So
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
live for balance. So, I mean, in that sense, just, you can do a little bit of both. You don't have
Yeah.
to be so hardcore about one thing or the other.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Cool. Nice. Well, thanks to everyone who shared their thoughts. And, for this or upcoming episodes, as I always say, like, let us know, DM or Instagram. If you have to, I guess you can message us privately. But if you don't know us, definitely shoot us an email, message our Instagram, post a comment on any of our reels or our posts. Um, we talk a lot, right? We share a lot of opinions, and it's always interesting to hear what other people have to say.
Hmm. I'll just say that my friends generally, I mean, I haven't had any like super strong opinions about any of our episodes, but they are so supportive and they're always cheering us on. They really like the four or the different themes that we've got going on for our season 2 podcast. I think it's a
That's
really good
nice.
idea to have the different
Yeah.
themes. They like when we dig into like one topic.
Yeah.
So they find
Yeah.
that pretty interesting. But yeah, always just like the kindest, sweetest words. So
Thank you, G's friends, for all your support. I think with the format and stuff, I think I think most people when we listen to podcasts, there's not a lot of podcasts where we literally queue up every single episode that comes out, right? It's kind of like a
mhm.
buffet. You pick what you like.
Yeah.
So I think with our podcast, if you like us, I guess you would listen to these uncuts, but you would just look at, oh, is this an interesting idea? Is this an interesting topic? And if it's not, you move on. That's fine. And so by
Hmm.
having these different formats, hopefully that gives listeners more of a palette to choose from to see sort of what interests them,
Yeah.
and not to be too repetitive.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm
I
really excited for some of our upcoming episodes. I have to say, some of our guests.
Me too. My friend was asking me like if we plan all of these episodes in advance, like the topics and things like that. And I feel like we do that a little bit, but somehow also like topic ideas just come up when we kind of need them to. Like we haven't really ran into a wall that hard. So it's actually I found that
Well,
interesting because sometimes I feel
yeah.
like we're out of ideas, but then ideas will just pop up. So
Well, in your 30s, there's always some new curveball that's
something that's
gets
happening.
thrown your way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, everyone who's listening. G, do you have
Hmm.
any final thoughts?
Nope. That was
All right.
a good recap.
When is fall last till when as a season, technically?
November something, I want to say, or maybe even December. I don't know.
Do you want
The
to?
seasons don't really line up with the weather, in my opinion, or like the
I think next
months.
time we're gonna chat or release an episode where we're chatting without a guest. It's gonna be after Halloween. So,
Yeah.
or at least around Halloween time. It's I'm guessing you don't want to spoil it do you want to give a tease or give a hint about what your costume look is going to be?
Oh my gosh, I don't have one yet. And I'm stressing out about it because I'm leaving in a few days and I need a costume because I'm actually flying back the day of Halloween. And I will only have about 2 hours between when I land and when the
Okay,
party
so you got to
starts.
figure it out
So I
before you
need to
leave.
figure it out. Yeah.
I think like
And you're not into the whole costume thing. So what are you?
yeah, I mean I
Do
am
you have
and
an
I'm not.
idea?
I I have an idea actually. I guess I was googling, Halloween costume ideas, and I think this year, in my opinion, if I the best costume anyone can have is if they do a very authentic and legit version of Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
That's the
I was going to
ultimate
say, I
costume
hope
in my
somebody
opinion.
shows up
It's
as
the
Barbie.
it's the radioactive 60s pink rollerblade. That costume that they have in the movie, the
Yeah.
iconic
Yeah.
Barbie and
With
Ken.
the
I think
Ken's jean jacket and
yeah,
jean
yeah. But
pants.
and you got to show up in the pink rollerblades too. So if anyone does
Oh.
that, I'm gonna be very impressed. I'm sure I'm gonna see like BuzzFeed articles about like, oh, the best Barbie and Ken costumes on the internet this year.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to
Yeah.
see that. I think it'll be
Yeah.
very awesome and fun.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
I think that's it. I don't really feel like doing the spiel this week for some reason. So just give us a rating if you haven't already. Like, what are you waiting for? Come on.
Come on, everyone. You can do it. Rating, a comment, anything. It would make our day. Help us get onto the algorithm. We had a TikTok video recently that hit some good views. I mean, not like anything viral, but
no,
it was
more than usual.
More than usual, yeah. So.
Because of Michael's handsome face. Okay, I'll stop.
Thank you,
Michael. All right, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.